Good morning, everybody. My name is John Zerucelli. I'm the Member of Parliament for Etobicoke North and the Secretary of State for Labour. It's great to have you all here in Etobicoke North. We arranged some nice sunshine for you. It's great to be here with my colleagues from Toronto and Peel, Secretary of State Ruby Sahota, the Commissioner, and Prime Minister. Thank you for coming to Etobicoke North for this important announcement. Not far from here is Rexdale. That's the community that I was born and raised. It's a beautifully diverse place that taught me early what it means to look out for each other and to stand up for what's right. My brother's a police officer. He served for 23 years here in Toronto, so I hear firsthand about the challenges and sacrifices that come with wearing the badge. Just 5 months ago, I was elected to represent Etobicoke North. And from day one, I've been clear with my community. Those who break the law will face consequences. Canadians deserve to feel safe in their homes and their streets and in their communities, and Canada's new government, led by Prime Minister Carney, is taking action to make that happen. Because every parent deserves to know that their kids can walk home safely, and every police officer deserves to know that we have their back. To all the men and women of the RCMP, thank you for what you do. Thank you for your service. It's appreciated. And one person who's been leading that work is my colleague and friend, one of the hardest working MPs in this new government, Ruby Sahota, MP for Brampton North and Secretary of State for Combating Crime. Ruby, over to you.
Thank you, John. As Canada's Secretary of State for Combating Crime, I've met with frontline police officers, lawyers, victims, and community leaders across the country, all of whom want the same thing: safer streets and a stronger justice system. Having practiced in courtrooms before, I decided that I should sit through many bail hearings so that I could see firsthand the issues and challenges our courts are facing. The issues are many, and today you're going to hear an announcement that does our part, but there is a provincial part to play as well. So although today's announcement is a long-awaited, highly anticipated announcement and one that makes many important changes, there is a role for the provinces to play in the administration of justice. They need to make sure that they are resourcing their courtrooms properly, and that's a very important part of this whole system. I want to take a moment to also thank the men and women in uniform, the RCMP in particular, Commissioner Duheme, who is here with us here today, and police agencies across this country that work tirelessly to protect us day in and day out. Today, our government is delivering on one of the most important promises. To share more about these important steps forward, please join me in welcoming Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Thank you very much, Ruby. Thank you, John. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here at the RCMP Toronto Airport Detachment. And I want to begin by thanking Commissioner Duheme, Mike, for having us here today, the members of the women and men of the RCMP represented behind me, for hosting us today, but for protecting Canadians every day. It's hard to overstate the contribution that the RCMP makes to the safety of our country, and I want to thank you on behalf of all Canadians. It is a pleasure to be joined by the Secretary of State for Labour, John Zerucelli, from caucus colleagues from the Peel region and Toronto. What a fine group there. And the Secretary of State for Combating Crime, Ruby Sahota. In 3 weeks, Canada's new government will table our first budget. And that's our plan to build Canada's economy, to empower Canadians with new opportunities, and to protect our communities and our very way of life. Our plan for Canada Strong. Le monde est de plus en plus dangereux et divisé. Les États-Unis, notre plus important partenaire international, transforment toutes ses relations commerciales. Cela cause une très grande incertitude économique, freine les investissements et perturbe les chaînes d'approvisionnement. Ce n'est pas une transition, c'est un point de rupture. Throughout this period of upheaval, Canadians have taken three important lessons. The first is that we must focus on what we can control. In a rapidly changing world, that means building our strength here at home. Building an economy that's no longer reliant on a single trade partner, but resilient to global shocks. And to that end, we're fast-tracking major infrastructure projects. We're eliminating barriers to interprovincial trade, and we're building millions of homes across the country. Nous ne pouvons pas dépendre d'un autre pays pour créer notre propre prospérité. Nous bâtissons une économie à la fois pour et par les Canadiens et Canadiennes. The second lesson that this past year has taught us is that we have to look out for ourselves. To build a stronger country, we must protect our communities, our borders, our country, our way of life. Pour bâtir un Canada plus fort, nous devons protéger notre souveraineté, nos communautés, nos frontières, notre mode de vie. Il n'y a pas de prospérité sans sécurité. Safe, resilient communities attract people and families. Families who want to put down roots, get a home, build a rewarding career, send their kids to a good school. Safe communities attract new investment, new jobs, and new businesses. The conditions are there that help you feel safe, secure, in control of your life, and empowered to know that if you work hard, you will get ahead. You should be able to rely on that safety because you do all the right things. You work hard. Maybe you buy a car to get your kid to a job, yourself to school. You buy your first home, perhaps in a neighborhood a little further from work than you had wanted, but you're starting out in what seems to be an affordable, safe community where you can raise a young family. But then you hear about a car just like yours that was stolen in your neighborhood, or a home in your city that was broken into, or a neighbor whose grandparent was scammed out of their hard-earned retirement savings because they opened the wrong email. And it's even worse when you hear that the person who stole that car, broke into that home, or defrauded a loved one has done it many times before and just got released on bail. Canadians deserve to feel safe in their community, to know that their homes are secure, to know that their money that they've earned is safe in their own bank account. In this spring's election, we earned a mandate from Canadians to deliver change, to secure our country and protect our communities, just like this one. And we will do our part. Before I outline some details that Ruby referenced, I want to be clear. We're here in Toronto, where the Toronto Police Service secures the city. Not far from here, as do the Peel Regional Police. They're the ones who respond to 911 calls and show up at your door during times of crisis. They take the criminals off the street, they bring them into custody. And the Ontario Provincial Police serves the province. They handle cross-province crimes and investigations. The federal government's job is to protect our borders and to deal with terrorism, white-collar crime, financial fraud, and, crucially, the criminal code. So today, I'm announcing how the federal government is strengthening the criminal code to better protect all Canadians. And tomorrow, I'll make an important announcement on border security. This is how the federal government can help municipalities and provinces get criminals off the streets, disrupt and dismantle criminal networks, reinforce the justice system with tough and comprehensive bail reform, and build a stronger, safer, more secure Canada. Keeping Canadians safe is one of our new government's core missions, one we have focused relentlessly on from day one. Just 3 weeks after the election, when Parliament opened, we immediately introduced the strongest legislation in Canadian history to secure our borders and crack down on gun trafficking and illegal drugs, such as fentanyl. We want to put radar out of work. In September, when Parliament returned, we introduced new legislation to combat the horrifying rise in hate and violent intimidation, including to protect against anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Notre projet de loi, la loi visant à lutter contre la haine, rendrait illégale toute entrave aux espaces religieux et érigée en infraction criminelle distincte, l'intimidation ou l'entrave aux lieux de culte et autres centres communautaires. Et demain, nous allons annoncer de nouvelles mesures pour protéger notre frontière. Nous sommes au Canada. Dans notre pays, vous devriez pouvoir vous réveiller le matin, monter dans votre voiture, vous rendre au travail, à l'église ou au temple, rentrer chez vous et dormir paisiblement la nuit. Lorsque nos lois échouent à plusieurs reprises à protéger ces droits fondamentaux, nous en avons besoin de nouvelles. Nous avons besoin de changement. Et c'est exactement pour cette raison que nous sommes ici aujourd'hui. Today, I'm announcing two major new measures that Canada's new government is taking to build safer communities for you and your loved ones. First, we're strengthening the criminal code to get tough on bail and sentencing, keeping violent criminals and repeat offenders off our streets and out of our communities. And second, we are investing in frontline law enforcement, hiring 1,000 new RCMP personnel to keep our country and communities safe. To start, To start, the Minister of Justice will be tabling legislation within the next week with strong reforms on bail and sentencing. We're getting violent criminals and repeat offenders off the streets, full stop. Right now, in most bail hearings, the starting point is to release. And the Crown must prove why someone should not be released on bail, making it too easy for repeated violent offenders to quickly get back on the street, sometimes back into the same communities that they just committed crimes in. Our new law will flip that script by creating new reverse onus bail provisions for violent and organized crime-related offenses. We're making bail stricter to keep you safer. With so-called reverse onus bail, it will no longer be up to the Crown to prove why someone should stay behind bars. It will be up to the accused to prove to the court why they can be trusted to be released. Their risk of reoffending and their history of past 10 years will be considered. These strong new reverse onus bail provisions will apply to violent auto theft, to break and enter, to human trafficking and smuggling, to assault, to sexual assault, and to extortion involving violence or violent threats. Simply put, these changes will keep violent repeat offenders of these crimes off our streets and out of our communities. Canada's new government will also toughen sentences for repeat offenders of auto theft, of organized crime, and of home invasion, so that criminals who have repeatedly victimized your community do not have the chance to do so again. We are delivering the change to keep violent repeat offenders off our streets. We'll also allow for consecutive sentencing for violent and repeat offenders so that a 7-year sentence and a 5-year sentence can mean 12 years behind bars, not just 7. This change will keep dangerous criminals off our streets for longer. And to protect workers and businesses, we will implement harsher sentencing for organized retail theft. No worker in a neighborhood convenience store should have to worry about being robbed by gangs or feeling that no one can intervene and no one will face justice. In addition, we will reverse laws from previous governments that are simply not working. And the first of those is conditional sentences for sexual assault. Right now, someone convicted of sexual assault can be eligible for a conditional sentence, meaning they may be able to serve their sentence at home, in the very community where their victim lives. That is not justice. Our legislation will put an end to this. If you commit sexual assault, you will serve your sentence in a correctional facility. La violence sexuelle constitue un crime grave qui a eu des répercussions majeures et profondes sur la vie des victimes. Les victimes d'agressions sexuelles ne devraient jamais avoir à croiser leur agresseur dans la vie de tous les jours, que ce soit à l'épicerie, lorsque se rendent au travail ou ailleurs dans leur communauté. C'est pourquoi notre gouvernement veille à ce que les délinquants sexuels purgent leur peine dans un établissement où leurs victimes sont à l'abri de tout danger. The second major change I'm announcing today is that we are delivering on our election commitment to hire 1,000 new RCMP personnel across Canada. Because tougher laws are only one part of safer communities. We also need the people and the resources to enforce those laws. With this significant investment, the RCMP will have the investigative and technical capabilities required to work actively with municipal and provincial police services, such as on critical national security issues, including foreign interference, violent extremism, cybercrime, organized crime, and online child sexual exploitation. This funding will also include hiring 150 RCMP personnel specifically dedicated to investigating financial crimes, targeting money laundering networks, organized crime, online fraud, and the recovery of illicit assets. Financial crimes take many forms, and they are rising with devastating impacts on millions of Canadians. Retired Canadians who spent a lifetime saving carefully are losing thousands of dollars in seconds, sometimes just for answering a call from the wrong person. Plus de ressources pour les GRC, plus de protection pour les Canadiens et Canadiennes. These new measures will keep violent criminals and repeat offenders off our streets. They will protect the people we love, and they will deliver the justice that Canadians deserve. You know, earlier I spoke about the 2 lessons that Canadians have learned from the past year. First, that we must focus on what we control, and second, that we have to look out for ourselves. But there's a third lesson. We have to take care of each other. And that means empowering everyone in our country to have opportunities to get ahead. It also means taking care of each other. And that means making our communities truly safe by tackling the root causes of crime. Par des investissements dans la santé mentale, le traitement des dépendances, le logement abordable et des programmes destinés aux jeunes à risque. Ce genre d'investissement permet de briser le cycle de la violence et d'aider les gens à trouver leur voie. We are building communities across Canada, communities with homes that people can actually afford, providing services people need to help break the cycles of poverty and violence, and the support for those needed the most. Earlier this week, not far from here, we announced the first project within the GTA of our new federal housing entity, Build Canada Homes in Downsview. This development will start by delivering 540 factory-built housing units, with at least 40% of those being deeply affordable. And ultimately, it will catalyze the construction of over 63,000 new homes in the Downsview area. Et en ce moment, à Kananaskis, en Alberta, le procureur général du Canada, les ministres de la Justice et de la Sécurité publique se rencontrent pour poursuivre cet élan et tracer la voie à suivre. Ce travail va se faire en partenariat avec les provinces, les territoires, les municipalités et les forces de l'ordre local, parce que, pour être efficaces, nos solutions doivent refléter la réalité des communautés dont nous sommes au service. So let me conclude. Look, the world is more dangerous and it's divided. It's changing rapidly. We can't control those forces outside our borders. But in Canada, we decide what happens here. And we're choosing to build stronger communities where Canadians can feel safe in their homes, safe in their neighborhoods, and in control of their futures. We're fixing ineffective policies from the past and building a stronger, safer future with tough new laws, big new resources, and practical solutions. We will bring in tougher sentences for violent and repeat offenders and invest in thousands of frontline officers to combat crime in all of its forms. We'll secure our border and protect our sovereignty. We will protect our communities and our way of life. We'll protect your safety and the people you love. And we will build Canada strong. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Merci, Monsieur le Premier ministre. Nous allons maintenant passer à la période de questions. On va faire une question par journaliste. One question per journalist. First question. Première question.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Avec ce durcissement en matière de criminalité, vous rejetez une fois de plus une partie de l'héritage du gouvernement Trudeau. Est-ce que c'est une admission que les libéraux ont été trop laxistes dans les dernières années?
Merci pour votre question. Il faut prendre des leçons sur le terrain, sur les rues dans nos communautés. On travaille dans une étroite collaboration avec les forces de l'ordre, les provinces, les territoires, les municipalités. Oui, on prend des leçons. Et par exemple, en ce qui concerne de renverser le fardeau de la preuve dans les situations de libération sur la caution. On prend des leçons et on fait des actions difficiles mais nécessaires. Ouais.
Prochaine question. Oh, in English.
The question, we work closely with law enforcement, with municipalities, with provinces, and we take the lessons from what's happening in the streets, in our communities, in our cities, and we're making changes. So yes, there are things that are being changed from measures that previous governments had put in place, but that's the right thing to protect Canadians, and we will continue to do that.
Next question.
Les mesures proposées font en sorte que des criminels vont rester plus longtemps en prison et notamment dans des prisons provinciales. Est-ce que ça va venir avec des nouvelles ressources pour aider les provinces à gérer la population carcérale et si oui, lesquelles?
Premièrement, il faut travailler dans une étroite collaboration avec les provinces, ça c'est sûr. Il y a des responsabilités des provinces en ce qui concerne les forces policières et de fournir des prisons pour des actes. Mais par exemple, aujourd'hui, j'aurai une réunion avec le Premier ministre de l'Ontario et on va discuter, oui, des réformes que je viens d'annoncer et l'implication pour la province et pour les ressources de province. Merci.
Next question, Laura. Good morning, Prime Minister. Laura Stone, Globe and Mail. I want to ask about the case of jailed publisher Jimmy Lai in Hong Kong. You've been remarkably silent on this issue. We've heard from Keir Starmer calling for his release, President Trump calling for his release. Why have we not heard anything from you? And will you be granting him honorary Canadian citizenship or even following through with his application for full Canadian citizenship?
Look, we support the freedom of the press, and we would urge the release of Mr. Lai. With respect to citizenship, we have processes to become Canadian citizenship. I'm making the point on humanitarian grounds and our support for, as I say, support for freedom of the press, including in Hong Kong. We first and foremost take responsibility for the citizens of Canada and the residents of Canada. Thank you.
Next question.
Kevin Gallagher with Global News. Prime Minister, you'll be meeting with Premier Ford later this afternoon. He's already come out and said he'd like to see you hit back, retaliate against new U.S. tariffs. So what's your message to him this afternoon? And does it include a new package of retaliatory action and trade action against the Trump administration?
Well, Premier Ford and I are both interested in results for, in my case, for workers and families across Canada. Of course, in his case, for the province of Ontario. And we're looking to work to those ends as constructively as possible. Right now, with the Americans, we're engaged in deep negotiations, intensive negotiations on several sectors of the Canadian economy: energy, aluminum, and the steel sector. The steel sector, it's across Canada, but the bulk of the steel sector is right here in Ontario. And we want to make progress in those negotiations. I'll be briefing the Premier on the status of those negotiations. We'll also be discussing the auto sector, the forestry sector, other parts of manufacturing, and what will make the biggest difference, not just to those sectors, but to all of Ontario, all of Canada, which is where we end up with the review, following the review of the Canada-US-Mexico trade agreement, which is coming very shortly. So the strategy has to take all of that into account and deliver the results. Now, last point. We start from a position where we have a better deal than any other country in the world with the United States. 85% of our trade is free, with the exception of Mexico, which has significant free trade with the United States. The deals the Americans have signed with everyone else has tariffs on the core of the trade, and then higher tariffs on the strategic sectors. So we're starting from this stronger position. But we're also very acutely aware and very focused on the fact that we can make it better. And so we will do everything we can to make it better. There's times to hit back and there's times to talk, and right now is the time to talk. En français, c'est le moment d'avoir des discussions. Nous sommes dans des négociations intensives en ce qui concerne les secteurs de l'acier, l'aluminium et de l'énergie. Et ce qui va être le plus important, ces négociations-ci seront importantes pour la province de l'Ontario et le Canada dans l'ensemble. Mais ce qui va être le plus important, ce sera la revue de l'ACM, l'accord entre les États-Unis, Canada et le Mexique.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Megan Fitzpatrick from CBC News. This is actually a question for Commissioner Duheme, if that's okay.
Okay, he's very capable, yes. I would like me to step aside. Yeah, there you go. Sorry, sir. I'll just...
This is a question on behalf of my colleagues in our Parliament Hill Bureau. Commissioner, in a recent interview, the Leader of the Opposition called the leadership of the RCMP despicable when it comes to enforcing laws against the Liberal government, and accused your officers of covering up for former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in the SNC-Lavalin affair. What's your response to Pierre Poilievre's comments, and have you ever faced political pressure from the government to not pursue charges?
So I think we've talked about SNC-Lavalin quite a lot under the previous government, and I think it was clear that there's no interference. I don't take any orders from any political individual. And as far as his comment with regards to senior management, I would invite Mr. Poilievre to meet with us and to meet with the people who run this great organization, 32,000 strong. So,
Next question.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Barbara with iPolitics. Just passing along a question from my editor, Marco Vigliotti. So Stellantis threatened to pull out of the Nexstar project in Windsor back in 2023 because the U.S. passed legislation allowing for even more generous subsidies. I understand you were not Prime Minister then, but it seems like these contracts are not terribly binding on the automakers.
No.
So is it a mistake to broker deals promising billions to companies to build here, knowing that experience suggests that they can just flee or demand more cash without much in the way of consequences?
Okay, well, first off, I know you're passing on a question. You can pass on this answer back to your editor. That's not a fair, an accurate description of the contract that the federal government signed with Stellantis and their partner LG. There are undertakings in that contract for the Nexstar battery that relate not just to the completion of that, but to the undertakings here in Brampton, not far from here. So there is exposure of the company if they were not to follow through with those commitments for Brampton, restarting Brampton, the employment in Brampton, related commitments to their Windsor activities. Let me say, so the premise of your question is categorically wrong with respect to the federal government, full stop. But let me also add that I spoke with the global head of Stellantis 2 days ago. In advance of the announcement, just in advance of the announcement, I expressed disappointment on their decision to shift where the Jeep production was. I reminded the global CEO of those undertakings and that partnership that's been there. I received assurances from the global CEO of two things. One, that they're looking at different model being produced in Brampton. That decision would be taken in the context of the finalization of the USMCA, to use the American term, CUSMA, to use our term, negotiations, and as well that support would be provided for workers. We're working with them, we're working with Unifor, working with the province to ensure that those workers for Brampton have more than just the opportunity, and they do have the opportunity to move to the additional shift that is being put on at Stellantis' other facility. But because there's 1,500 jobs coming with that third shift there, but also that they have comparable support to what they receive at present while the Brampton factory is idle. So. En français, ce qui concerne les engagements de Stellantis dans l'accord du Nexstar sont très clairs et incluent des engagements en ce qui concerne le travail et de redémarrer l'usine à Brampton. Premier point. Deuxième point. J'ai eu une longue conversation avec le PDG de Stellantis, le PDG global de Stellantis mardi après-midi avant l'annonce. Et il m'a donné des assurances en ce qui concerne les options pour l'usine à Brampton, d'autres options pour l'usine à Brampton. Et nous avons eu une discussion sur le soutien pour les travailleurs à Brampton. Il y a deux options à ce moment-ci pour les travailleurs. Une option, c'est de travailler à une autre usine de Stellantis. Et la deuxième, que nous travaillerons avec Stellantis et l'UNEFOR, le syndicat, et la province, l'Ontario, afin d'assurer que le soutien pour les travailleurs reste le même que maintenant, qu'avant l'annonce de Stellantis.
Next
Ça marche?
question. Hi, Alison Hurst, CTV News. China's ambassador to Canada has said that if you lift the EV tariffs, China will lift its canola oil tariffs. Will you, or canola tariffs? Will you, yes or no? And China is clearly exploiting the canola sector's reliance on its export market. Wouldn't it be naive to expand the trade relationship with that country, given that?
Well, there's a lot packed into that question, but let me take the last bit and build out from it, which is that we get a lesson from the trade actions of the United States over the last this year trade actions such as the canola tariffs you just referenced, the danger of overdependence on single trade partners, first point. The second is that in those contexts, we have to look for alignment of incentives and interests as much as possible. That's where it's possible and responsible and fair to workers and fair to our future to have deeper relationships. And that's part of what we're doing with the United States, is Canada determining where can we trust the United States through ups and downs, and in what areas can we do that, and where should we have that exposure. It's a similar process with China. We are restarting broad engagement with China. I'll make a point. I met the Prime Minister, the Premier of China, a few weeks ago. That was the first meeting between the head of the Canadian government and a senior, either the Premier or the President, in 7 years of China. This is our second largest trading partner. And so when you have that, and there's reasons for that, but when you have that situation, you end up with these dependencies and these exposures. So to get back to the first part of your question, we have a broader trading relationship with China. There are different levers that we have, or opportunities that we have for China in Canada. We are in the process of having those discussions on a much broader range of issues than single sectors and single trades. And when we look at the auto sector, we take into account the dynamics with the United States, the ongoing negotiations there, and what the potential impact is. So, last point. I met the Prime Minister, the Chinese Prime Minister, a few weeks ago. Our Foreign Minister, Minister Anand, is arriving in Beijing basically as we speak, and we'll be meeting with her counterparts. And I expect to meet the senior Chinese leadership in the coming month or so, and we'll continue those discussions, and we'll see where the trade relationship evolves. Thank you.
Next question.
Yes or no, though?
Are you considering it then, lifting the EVs? Like that's the question.
Look, I gave you a proper comprehensive answer to that. And it's naive to take a relationship that is broader and can broaden and to boil it down to two things that go across. It's a deeper set of conversations that are going on. It's not that simple. Nor is the relationship in the auto sector that simple as just open a door here with China with no impact on the relationship with the United States and the impact on activity here in Canada.
Next question.
Hi, Monique Malima, Bloomberg News. Bank of Montreal CEO Darryl White said yesterday that Canada's tax system is absolutely not competitive. Do you agree with this, and why or why not?
I disagree with it. And it'll be clear in the budget the competitiveness of the Canadian tax system, including relative to the United States for investment. This is a budget that is going to support generational investment in Canada, scale of investment that we haven't seen for decades, and that will include a highly competitive corporate tax system. There is a difference in terms of the choices that Canadians have made consistently over time in terms of the personal tax system and the balance of the social model in Canada, the support we give to each other. And broad brush, that aspect of our tax system will continue. But in terms of corporate competitiveness, look, this is a government that cut the capital gains tax in the first week of the government. We're well aware of what the relative effectiveness, relative tax rates are in investment, and we'll make sure that they are competitive in the budget.
Next question.
Hi, Taranjit from Red FM. Some people have expressed concerns that individuals from different countries who are on asylum or are on different visa programs and are committing serious crimes in Canada are not deported quickly. Is the deportation process for such case being expedited, or are there plans to make it faster?
The short answer is yes, there are plans to make it faster, make it better resourced, and to improve the tracking. That's part of a broader set of reforms that we're making to the immigration system here in Canada. But thank you for the question. Yeah.
Hello, Prime Minister. Mark Ramsey with the Toronto Star. How confident are you that the criminal code measures that you're announcing today won't be struck down by courts? For example, the Supreme Court in 2022 ruled against consecutive sentencing for murder, saying that it violated the charter right against cruel and unusual punishment. And what would you do if the courts go against these new laws?
Well, let me answer the second part first. We will follow the courts. We will follow Supreme Court rulings. This is a government that believes in the rule of law and will fundamentally defend the rights and liberties of Canadians. That's the fundamental point. But the second point I want to go to, which is the measures we're announcing today, I'm announcing today, and the Attorney General, Minister of Justice will table in the House within the next week. They are the part of a process of very careful deliberation. We want to toughen bail. We want to reverse onus. We want to get end conditional sentencing, for example, in sexual assault. All the things that I listed, and including consecutive sentencing, the possibility of consecutive sentencing in certain cases. Okay. We have done that in close collaboration with the provinces and territories. There have been a series of discussions amongst the equivalents of the Minister of Justice. They're called different things in the provinces sometimes, across the provinces and the federal government over the course of several months, with law enforcement, with stakeholders, with other groups, with constitutional experts. And this is part of the difference, for example, of a proposal that was made by the Conservative government a few weeks ago, which did not benefit from any of that, introduced a number of measures that nobody, or the core of law enforcement, the core of provinces, others, did not ask for, would not be, in our judgment, in many cases, withstand constitutional scrutiny. So this is a package that we expect that does what it's supposed to do. It toughens the rules, punishes criminals, it'll help keep us safe, but also is consistent with the charters of rights and freedoms of this country. So we're very confident the package gets the right balance and does what's necessary. But of course, as a fundamental point on anything, not what whether it's what I'm announcing today, what we do 6 months, or what had been done previously, if there's a judgment of the Supreme Court that something is illegal, you follow it. You take. I mean, this is Canada. It's a country of the rule of law. Okay.
We'll do one last question. We've got 2 minutes. Sorry, we've just got 2 minutes. We've got to go quickly. Last question.
Rhianna Lim with the Canadian Press. What is Canada's plan to increase trade with the Middle East?
Thank you. It's. I'm going to take a broad interpretation of that question first, which is that one of the things that has been very apparent is there's a strong interest in countries throughout the Middle East, but particularly in the Gulf, for greater trade and investment in Canada. And these are some of the bigger investors and expertise, for example, in infrastructure investment, so they can be partners for Canada. So there's opportunities there. For example, the Minister of Artificial Intelligence just signed a MOU in the UAE with the Minister of Infrastructure there about inbound investment there. And I'll be traveling to the UAE on the way to the G20. So that's one example. More broadly across the Middle East, we have relationships. They can be deepened further. I would say in the specifics of Middle East with respect to Palestine, our focus is on supporting a peace process which has just begun, a very welcome development, of course, but much needs to be done. And on Thanksgiving, I participated in the Peace Summit, had a series of discussions with partners in the Middle East, so all the regional players in the Middle East, about the role Canada can play alongside our G7 partners to help promote that peace. So peace before trade in the specifics there, but then more broadly in the Middle East, intense interest, and I expect to see substantial increases in activity there.
Thank you. This was an inter-press conference. C'est ce qui m'a fait à notre conférence de presse. Thank you.